everyone, it's Michelle Lupton here today, and I am so excited to be joining in with this video hop for Jess Frost Ballas. She's reached 10,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel, so she's invited a few of her friends to join her for this video hop, and she said I could just make any kind of card I liked. So I like alcohol inks, so that's what I'm doing today. So I'm starting with this piece of Yupo. And the reason why I'm doing this video is I've had so many people ask me, how do I actually make the rainbows on Yupo out of alcohol ink and alcohol pearls that I do. So this is what I'm showing you today. So you can see I've got Yupo, I've got my blending solution, and I've got my alcohol pearls in this particular case. So I'm starting with the red one, which is called Deception. I just love the names of the alcohol pearls. They're just so cool. And you can see I use my little spritzer tool. Now this tool is not intended for use with alcohol inks. It's actually intended, you'll see the little attachment on the side of it. That's meant to put a distress marker in, so you can make a spritzing pattern with a distress marker. But I very rarely use it for that purpose. I use it to blow around my alcohol inks all the time. So yeah, try and get multiple uses out of your tools whenever you can. All right, so you can see with this particular rainbow, what I'm trying very hard to do is to make sure that each colour is dry before I add the next colour, because it is really easy when you're using a rainbow of colours. If you do get lots of movement, you end up with a colour like mud. And I don't want that. I want bright colours on my rainbow. So I try and make sure that each little section is dry. Now, if I don't like a section when I'm finished, I can always go back and add more colour. But that's just the technique that I use. Now, sometimes I might like to actually get a whole lot of blending. And I'm actually going to show you another example in a couple of minutes. Where I'm quite happy to get blending, but not with this one. Okay, and you can also see that I quite like getting lots of texture in my colours. So I like the little blobs that you get from a very, if you squeeze the spritzer tool really hard, you get a big spurt of air all at once, and yeah, I like the texture you get from that. Now, what I'm using now, I decided to see what kind of difference I would find if I did this on a black background. So with the black, what I'm using is the mixative called Snowcap. And this particular black surface that I'm working on, I have actually done this technique on Tim Holt's black Yupo, but this particular one is one from the paper mill, which is from Australia, and it's just called synthetic paper for alcohol ink. But I've used it pretty much interchangeably with Yupo. It has a slightly more matte surface than Yupo, so not quite as slick and shiny, but you still get the same kind of results. All right, so you'll notice that when I started, I had to shake up the Snowcap mixative quite a bit. They do have a little ball bearing in the bottles to help you mix up the pigment powder into the solvent that they're in. So it requires a fair bit of shaking to actually get that ball bearing to move. Now it's the same with the alcohol pearls. They also need a fair bit of mixing because all of the shiny bits in it will actually settle to the bottom. So you'll see, even though I just used these on the white panel, I shook them all up again before I used them on this panel. So again, I started with the red, which is Deception, then the orange, which is called Splendor. The yellow one is called Alchemy. Now, usually my favourite colour is blue, but when I'm using the alcohol pearls. This yellow one is my favorite because it's the most shiny. I don't know what it is, but and that's really weird for me because I'm not a fan of yellow and orange, but yeah, I just love that yellow color called Alchemy. Then the green is called Sublime, the blue is called Tranquil, and the purple is called Villainous, which just... it always makes me think of Maleficent from the Disney movies. The purple called Villainous. They're just awesome names. Whoever came up with those names, absolute kudos to you. They're fabulous. Now, a thing to remember with this, and you can see I'm just going back in with a little bit more purple because I decided a bit too much of the white was showing through. But I'm quite happy with some of the white showing through on the edges. That's fine. Now, that panel, I actually had to leave that overnight to dry because the mixative on it and then the alcohol pearls on top of it, the ink was quite thick. Usually when I use alcohol inks, like you can see here, I spread it out and it goes really thin and it dries pretty quickly. But not with the mixative and the pearls. Now, I could have left this panel as is right now. I really like it looking like this, but I really wanted to add another, well, not a mixative, these are called alloys. So with this panel, what I'm using is 2 colours of blue. I started with the sailboat blue, so that was the very first one that I used. And then I'm adding some cobalt now. And the alloy that I'm using is the bronze colour, which is called Mind. And this combination of the blue with the Mind alloy is one of my favourites. I do like the gold, which is called Gilded, I think, and the silver, I think, is called Sterling. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to go and look that up. But yeah, the blue with the bronzy colour Mind is my favourite. Can you tell that I'm in Ravenclaw? A little bit of a hint there. So I just added this until I thought, oh yeah, that looks all right. And I just kept on drying it to make sure that it was nice and flat and not too much wet there. And you can see it is still a little bit wet, a bit shiny, but I will leave that to dry completely. Now, when I'm using these alloys, quite often when I use alcohol inks on Yupo, I like to add foil on top of it, but the alloys give a slightly different look to that. The foil gives a very, very shiny, bright, metallic shine. The alloys are a little bit more subtle, but yeah, it's an effect that I really love. Now, I thought I would actually try this on the black as well with the Snowcap mixative. So the same colours as that first blue panel. So again, I'm using the sailboat blue and the cobalt, and I'm just adding that on top of the white. Oh, I just love that blue. Oh, seriously, somebody needs to come up with an alcohol ink colour called Michelle Blue, but the cobalt is pretty much Michelle Blue, I have to tell you. It's pretty spot on. So I'm adding quite a bit of the colour here because I wanted to cover up most of the blue, the white, and I decided I wanted to add the alloy with a bit more of that blending solution just to spread it out nicely. You tend to get these little puddles around the edges of where you've spread it out. It's just such a cool look. So you can see for this technique, I did these 4 panels all in a row, and by the end, my hand was just a little bit sick and tired of squeezing that spritzer tool. But it certainly wins out over blowing the ink around with a straw, I find. So here's a look at all 4 panels together. And I did finish them off into cards, but I kept it really, really simple. So for this card, I used a happy birthday from Hello Bluebird and a border frame from Altenew. For the next card, I used a happy die from Simon Says Stamp and a printed sentiment from Paper Rose Studio. Then for this third card, the other blue one on black, I used a hello from Picket Fence Studios and again a printed sentiment from Paper Rose. That hello is cut from a bronze colour that is just from my stash. And then the last one is a hello from Birch Press, and the flowers are from Paper Rose. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please continue on with the video hop and have fun. Bye.